Not to me. And
Okay.
awesome.
Rolling.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Trisha Blau. I'm one of the advisors with University Programs, and we are very thankfully that we are here with Allison Grace, who was a participant on The Voice for this last season, and she's been willing to ask some questions or answer some questions for us, and so we're going to go ahead and get started. So first is just tell us a little bit about yourself, going into your background, especially how you got your start in singing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm actually originally from Illinois, but I primarily grew up in Fayetteville. Right now I live in Fort Smith, where I work at the Arkansas Colleges of Health Education. I'm the digital marketing and branding manager there, so very much love my job. But our move to Arkansas is what really kind of kickstarted my love of music. I've always really sung. My family on both sides, both my mom and dad's, they're very musical. So I feel like I grew up in a musical home, and music was always a part of our life. I first started singing in church, and that really is what kind of stemmed from us moving to Arkansas. As my dad is actually a pastor, and so I started pretty much as most pastors' kids end up. They do a random job that their dad asked them to do. So he was like, Allison, you can sing in church. So that's how I started. Also, our move to Arkansas, I was around 11 when we moved. And so it's kind of a tough age to move. And so that's when I found music just to be a good outlet for me. That's when I started writing songs and singing more. I'm sure the songs were not good, and my poor mother had to listen to a lot of them. So, but yeah, that's really what started me, having an interest in music.
Very cool. All right. So what made you decide to try out for The Voice?
So I feel like if you have any singing ability at all, your friends and family are always trying to get you to audition for some type of singing competition. So The Voice was always kind of on my radar, and I like watching the show. I've always enjoyed it. But I never given it a lot of serious thought until I did see that they were having live auditions actually in Arkansas. And so I just kind of figured, why not? I'll just go ahead and try it and just see what happens. So I definitely went into it with very little of an expectation at all. So.
Very cool. All right. So I'm going to continue on with, to the extent that you can, how was the audition process?
So without going into a lot of detail, I would just say that it's very extensive. So I started by just submitting a video, which is what a lot of people I think do. And I really didn't expect anything to come of that. And then you just kind of progress through a series of auditions from there. And so by the time you actually get to the blind auditions that you see on TV, you've been narrowed down from about, my season, it was 40,000 people.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, so it's a lot of, it's kind of lengthy, but it was a very growing experience. I felt like every time I kind of reached the next level, it kind of gave me a bit more confidence and didn't make everything so scary. So, awesome. But yeah, overall though, it was such a great experience. Everyone I met, from the producers to just the other contestants, were so kind, and that was one thing I was nervous going into it. It's intimidating to be around so many talented people, but everybody I met was really, really nice.
Awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
So describe walking out on that stage, because I've watched the show since season 1, and it just seems so quiet and very intimidating. So kind of go into it, and is it really as quiet as it seems on the TV show? Okay,
it definitely is that quiet. It's very tense. And that is one thing that they try to kind of prepare you for. They tell you it's going to be really quiet. But yeah, it is. You see just like the doors open and everything is silent. And also when the judges turn, for example, you don't actually hear their chairs turn. So people that do get a chair turn, that's why a lot of times they seem surprised.
Okay.
But yeah, it's definitely a tense environment. It's quiet. I was definitely, obviously, I was nervous going into it, but I was kind of to the point where your audition, your whole song is about 90 seconds long. So at that point, I was just kind of like, you know what? I can do anything for 90 seconds. And no matter which way this goes, I'm going to get to see my family. And I will say, some of me was almost more nervous for my family watching me than I was for myself, because I just know like how that feels to watch, you know, excuse me. Like if I was watching my husband, for example, do something stressful, I would be so nervous for him. So I knew that my parents and my husband were probably feeling that pressure, but.
Mom or grandma, do you have anything to add to this whole process and your experience on your end?
It was very nerve-wracking to watch, you know, my child so vulnerable, but it was also a wonderful experience. They were really great to the families, and it's just one of those things you look back on, you can't believe it really happened. Yeah, it was great, and it really is pretty much just like you see on the TV. You're just standing over there in the wing with Carson Daly, being really nervous.
Yeah.
Awesome. Very cool. So what advice do you have for someone that's interested in pursuing a music career?
Yeah. So first off, I would preface this with I have like by no means achieved a music career, but I am in the pursuit. But I guess my best advice, and this is advice that someone has given me actually, and I've really held on to it, but it was to early on define what success is for you. Because I think that just sets you up for healthier expectations. So for me, I feel like success for me would be just sharing my music and it bringing other people joy and bringing myself joy. And, you know, it's something I'm passionate about. So obviously I feel most of myself whenever I'm doing it. Whereas some people may have their definition of success may be like playing for stadiums, which is also completely valid. But I think when you're honest about what your definition is, then it dictates your whole journey, and then it also dictates the satisfaction that you get out of it. So that would be my first advice. And then kind of along the same line, I would just say staying true to who you are and what you do. Like for me, sometimes the criticism or even constructive criticism that I receive is kind of as a recommendation to be more like a powerful singer or something like that, which is all great to take into account for sure. But I think it's important that you kind of stick to what you know you do best. And I think if you just stay true to yourself and your own path, you just get more out of it. Plus, it keeps you from comparing yourself to other people, which I think when we compare ourselves to other people, it takes out all the joy of doing what we're good at or we're passionate about. So, and that's something, you know, I've struggled with, like with social media. It's really easy to compare yourself to other musicians or just other people in general. So I would just say, try to stay centered and true to what you're doing.
Great. Awesome. So kind of going with your music pursuits, how has the current COVID-19 situation affected that side of things for you?
So obviously we're playing less often. And I really do enjoy when I get to play with a full band. And so it's, you know, it's hard to not be able to do that because that's just fun when you're playing with people that you enjoy playing with and that are just great people. But I will say, I am extremely fortunate that I do have a job that hasn't been affected, like my full-time job. And I know a lot of musicians that aren't so fortunate right now. But with that said, I will say I have appreciated the time to kind of have like more free time and space to be creative, which is something I do hope that I take with me once everything settles down. Is just to create a little bit more margin in my life to express my creativity and just work on being better. One of the things I came out of The Voice with was just a lot of gratitude for what I already have. And I kind of felt coming out of it that while I still have a lot of musical goals that I do want to achieve, I felt more of an urge to focus on making the performances that I do have more quality, but maybe lessen the quantity, because it can get really exhausting to play like multiple times a week, which is what we were doing. And when I say we, I mean like the band that plays with me. We were doing that last year. It was like every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, it seemed we were playing somewhere. And it just becomes a lot. And then it becomes a job, and, you know, it's not bringing you as much joy. So I do want to take that with me, just to pursue performances or shows that can be more meaningful, but maybe less of them.
Cool. So just a couple fun questions. What is your favorite song to sing, and what is your go-to genre?
Okay, so excuse my cough. I would say I have a lot of songs that I enjoy singing. One of the like classic songs that I always come back to is What a Wonderful World. I just love that song. It's just so uplifting, and it's classic. And I actually do perform it in the concert. So it's at the very end, so you have to watch the whole thing. So that's one I always come back to. And then genre-wise, I feel like I lean towards jazz, but I'm not like straight jazz, but I would say jazz-ish pop.
Okay.
So, yeah.
It's a good genre, Josh.
Yeah. And then I always enjoy, you know, performing songs that I've written, and I don't know how I would define that genre specifically, but that always means a lot to me to perform those. So.
Very cool. Well, that is all the questions that I have. Thank you very, very much. And we will stop recording at this point.
Awesome. Thank you.